Let's bring in Michael Graham in our Washington bureau. He's creative director for MediaDC, publisher of the Washington Examiner, the Weekly Standard, and Red Alert Politics. Michael, nice to see you again.
Happy to be here. What
are the implications, you think, of the president's questioning of the Seattle judge?
You know, I understand why the media and people who, really take politics super seriously, those of us who sat in the front row in civics class, are bothered by this. But I believe that the vast majority of Americans who are either Trump supporters or open to Trump take this in a completely different way. They don't see Trump's speaking the same way they saw, for example, President Obama actually leering at members of the Supreme Court in a speech for them sitting in front of them and attacking them on the Citizens United case. Trump gets a pass, if you will, with the phrase so-called because he's our first Twitter president. As a former talk radio host, he sounds a lot like our first talk radio president. I think that a president who seriously says that a judge's legitimacy is undermined by a ruling that he doesn't like is a bad thing. I do think that that opens the door to a dangerous conversation. But I just wonder how many people viewing really saw that from Trump and dismiss it more as, that's Trump. What do you expect? I think about Selena Zito, who's a Washington Examiner writer. She's credited by a lot of people with kind of decoding the last election by saying, Trump supporters took Trump seriously, but not literally. The media took Trump literally, but not seriously. I think we've now jumped the shark, and it's some people in the media taking him seriously and literally. Does anyone honestly believe President Trump is going to ignore this judge's order because he's a, quote, so-called judge? In fact, he hasn't. The White House is fighting, but complying.
All right, well, let me ask you this. Vice President Pence said that the president is free to criticize any branch of government. Are there limits at all to that freedom? You said he gets a pass because he's our first Twitter president.
Yeah, once again, I'm talking about Donald Trump. In other words, if you honestly believe that Trump is going to be telling people, ignore the court's rulings, they're not real judges, that's a problem. And if I thought we were close to that, I would be freaking out. Right now, it's an arched eyebrow of, Mr. President, that's not a helpful way to talk. I think it's a mistake. But I think that there's this almost sense of panic about it that just, I think people who don't live politics like I do think, come on, this is just Trump mouthing off the way Trump does. It's the reason why they just shrugged off his call for prayer for Arnold Schwarzenegger at the National Prayer Breakfast. Was that a dopey move? I think so, but he's Donald Trump.
Okay, on another topic then, Michael, President Trump sat down with Bill O'Reilly and talked about his stance toward Russian President Vladimir Putin, something that, as you know, a lot of his fellow Republicans take quite seriously. Let's go ahead and take a listen to some of that.
Do you respect Putin?
I do respect him.
Do you? Why?
Well, I respect a lot of people, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get along with him. He's a leader of his country. I say it's better to get along with Russia than not. And if Russia helps us in the fight against ISIS, which is a major fight, and Islamic terrorism all over the world,
right,
major fight, that's a good thing. Will I get along with him? I have no idea. It's very possible I won't.
Putin's a killer.
A lot of killers. We got a lot of killers. Why, you think our country's so innocent?
Okay, so Michael, help us understand this. Is the president saying, you think, that there's a moral equivalency between the U.S. and Russia?
The president's absolutely saying that there's a moral equivalency. And of all the things that I don't like about President Trump, about the way he ran his campaign, of the many reasons I couldn't vote for him myself, this fundamental anti-Americanism just is the most hurtful. It's not every country has, problems, no country's perfect, whatever. He has played this card again and again. Think about the way he talks about our cities. Look, we definitely have crime problems, no doubt about it. Under the Obama years, there were policy changes that were not helpful to fighting crime. But come on, this idea that we are on the verge of living in a dystopia unless Trump comes in and saves us. This idea that that we're in a world of chaos and Putin is America, is Israel, is Ukraine, whatever. No, I believe in American exceptionalism, and I'm very concerned at this idea that we now have two presidents in a row who don't.
All right, Michael Graham in Washington, thank you so much.